This is my 92 Camaro, and these are the stock taillights, and I think they look like poo, so I made these. Where we left off in part 1, we had the lenses fabricated, but they were just clear plastic. So today, we're going to get them finished with some color and diffusion. So we've got our lenses all finished up here. They're all smooth and polished, and we're going to move on to tinting them. Now, I'm going to be using this spray tint. Everything online said that this is the best stuff that you could get. So we're going to wipe these all down with some alcohol and get started. And of course, we have to start this video off on a high note. Something was wrong with this can, and it wasn't atomizing properly, so I had to abandon ship and wipe it all off. So I ended up just ordering another can of that same spray tint. I'm hoping the last one was just a defect or something, but in the meantime, we're going to work on the diffusion film on the back of the lens. I'm going to be using this stuff. So this is pretty much a window diffusion film, but it has a pattern that looks somewhat OEM. I think it'll really make it look professional and stock. So this is what we're going to use. I'm going to use some soapy water to apply this. Now I ran into two types of film, static cling and adhesive. The static ones were much more flexible, which would have been ideal, but obviously I can't rely on static to hold the film on indefinitely. So I had to make do with the rigid adhesive film, which came along with its own set of problems. So you just watched me struggle to put that film on for several hours. I had enough film for 4 tries and I ruined all of it. The issue is that the film is so rigid, unlike a vinyl film that has some stretch to it. And these corners are not perfect one-dimensional curves. They're slightly like Pringle shaped, which means that when you try to put a rigid film over it, you'll get wrinkles in it at certain spots where it doesn't want to stretch evenly. So I ordered some more film, and I think what I'm going to try to do is paint a black line, maybe 10 millimeters or 3/8 of an inch wide on this inside face, and then that will give me somewhere to hide a seam. So you just have 3 black lines on the lens. So I taped off the lenses and took this opportunity to also paint the top and bottom faces. And now that I have the seams at each section, I can relieve the tension between them, and the whole process went much smoother, although it still took a lot of fiddling to get it down evenly. So we got all of our film on, went down pretty good. This area was difficult because this is slightly domed, but overall it went pretty well. You can see these black lines that I painted on do hide the seam pretty well. I think it looks good, and I think it'll look even better behind the red tint. So that's what we're moving on to next. I did get another can of this spray tint, and it sprays much better. So that first can was just a defect with low pressure or something. So that's what we're going to move on to next. So attempt number 2 went much better. The tint went down evenly with the exception of one area that had some pretty stubborn fish eyes. So I had to do a lot of really light coats so it couldn't pool up around them. But this color looks perfect to me. Unlike a lot of the taillight films out there, which are really orange, these are just a nice deep red. So I got both of these sprayed. This one sanded up to 2000 grit. This one I had to do a lot of really light coats on because I was getting some fish eyes on one of the edges. But I'm going to wet sand that one too. It looks pretty good. We're going to move on to siliconing the back edge of it. So all of the edges of the film back there to, one, help seal it a little bit better, but also make sure that film stays down over time. And then we're going to do a maybe 1/4 inch black border painted on around the whole outside of this to hide the glue seam. Now with the tint wet sanded smooth and that black border painted on, I wanted to put a clear coat on top of these to make sure it stays safe from UV and scratches. So I used the leftover 2K clear from painting my car and my cheap Harbor Freight paint gun, and with 2 light coats and 1 heavy wet coat, these lenses really started to pop. So it's the next day. There's a little bit of dust and orange peel on the clear coat, but it's a little bit too soft still to wet sand and polish those out. So we're going to move on to getting the lenses in the housing. I'm going to be using that same windshield adhesive and probably a little bit of butyl tape to get those in. In addition to the butyl tape and adhesive, I also put a handful of small screws in so I had it mechanically secured. They've got both lenses sealed up all the way around, and I know what you guys have been thinking. You doofus, you just painted over the reverse lights and the turn signal, and now they're both red. Well, yes, I did, and that's very mean, but that's why I have these. These are supposed to be daytime running light and turn signals, but they go white and amber, and I can use the white for the reverse lights and the amber for the turn signals. I don't know if this is going to be my permanent solution. It feels kind of half-assed since I made everything else from scratch just to use some generic universal turn signals. So I might end up changing this in the future, making something more custom, but for now this is at least going to get me on the road. The other thing I'm doing is I have this seal that I'm going to put all along the bottom, maybe some on the top, just to fill up some of the gaps, and I think that'll look a little bit nicer. I don't like it. It's too much red. So yeah, after all that, I realized they look like crap on the car. But after a quick cry, I realized if I just sandblasted the innermost panels back to clear, I could kill two birds with one stone by removing a lot of the red and solving my reverse and turn signal issue. And of course, I then had to touch up the black border and re-clear coat that section. So our clear coat is drying. I'll probably let it dry for another 2 or 3 days till I try to wet sand and polish it. And in the meantime, we're going to rearrange some of the wiring. Now, the stock tail lights, we have running light and brake light on this one. We have turn signal and reverse light. And now, our turn signal is now red. And I hate red turn signals because I don't think they're visible enough against red brake lights. So this one's going to be staying the same with running lights and brake lights. This one's going to become brake light only. And this one's going to be reverse light and turn signal. And the way we're going to do that is with these different sockets that have one extra input over the stock one. And we have bulbs that have a white and an amber LED in it. So that way we can tap into the turn signal wire and we can have our white reverse light and an amber turn signal in this same clear housing. For some reason the socket wasn't a perfect fit in the housing, but it was close enough to just trim it a little bit. And right now all the bulbs in the red sections emit white light, but I'll probably invest my last $7 in a set of red LED bulbs to give it a more saturated red color. Alright, let's try running lights, brake lights, running lights off, turn signal, other turn signal, and reverse. So it's about 2 or 3 weeks later. The clear coat should be cured enough to give it a final polish, and then I'm going to wrap the innermost part of this clear section in a black vinyl. Now because we clear coated these, they polished up really nice. All the dust nibs and orange peel are completely gone and they're perfectly smooth. And I'm using vinyl instead of paint for this because I wasn't quite sure if I would like it, but it ended up looking really good. And here they are, the finished taillights. I'm so happy with how these turned out, and as I'm recording this 6 months later, I can say that they're holding up really well. So if you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.